touch base on the Republican Party. The first Republican president was Abraham Lincoln. Abraham Lincoln freed the slaves. He did a lot. Just to cover and where we are today, you would have to research a little bit. Abraham Lincoln, in his first term as president, had a Republican vice president. Also, the first Republican vice president. Abraham Lincoln's second term, he went with a Democrat vice president. 1 month into his second term, he was assassinated. It's relevant because, well, he had a Democrat vice president. Now, also, 5 days after the Democrats waved the white flag and surrendered, aka the South, however you want to put it, Abraham Lincoln was assassinated. Okay, so Americans, we didn't fight fair in any war. We fight to win, period. And if that means fake surrender in order to gain the presidency for a full 4-term presidency, well then, so be it. Like, we always broke the rules of engagement. We were the inventor. But, okay, so two of the presidents that were assassinated were generals in the Union Army, obviously Republican. Kennedy was the other one. We'll get into that in a minute. But it's a war that's been going on for a long time. There's a lot of entanglements. Planned Parenthood was originated in the early 1900s. Margaret Sanger believed that all black babies should be aborted before birth, and handicapped babies, they were economic drains on society. That was the sole purpose foundation of this organization. It was she was a member of the Socialist Party. Her second husband, James Noah, was a multimillionaire in the 3-in-1 oil business. James Noah was in the eugenics programs with J.P. Morgan and the Rockefellers. This is just planning a little bit of to what's to come, if you follow what I'm saying. Now the Democrats are self-proclaimed socialists, and they have complete 100% control of Planned Parenthood. Planned Parenthood has been collecting data on the human genome for well over a century. The eugenics programs are crazy. The Gates family ran Planned Parenthood in the early 2000s. If you look at Gates now and how involved he is with the coronavirus and the other projects that he has going that can change a person's DNA, there's no doubt there's serious power in this organization. For all you fucking people talking about what do they call it, the Illuminati and everything, do you understand what true power is? Like, do you understand to have that kind of data, you could destroy or create a new world? You could decide who has the vaccine, who doesn't have the vaccine. You can infect populations based on race and other genetic concepts. So, I mean, it's not solely about the money, you know. It's more about power. This is the Illuminati, we're saying. Now, whether you want to believe that or not, who cares? I don't know if I do either. I'm just saying the power and the money that comes with this organization is incredible. Like, incredible. I mean, you people are dummies. So, that's established. W.E.B. Du Bois, the founder of the NAACP, also worked for Parenthood. I think, I want to say from 1936 to 1938, he ran the Negro Project section of Planned Parenthood. You know, Uncle Tom asked some other, probably lived in the house. You know, I'm used to working the fields, so I don't have much respect for him. Anyways, so where are we at? We're at the two presidents that were assassinated, the 400,000 Americans that died fighting for what they believe in during the Civil War. When people come at me and they're talking about how you know, like restitution-wise in America, you know, you can kiss my ass. I'm a Republican, and my restitution is paid in full. I've been a Republican, period, for as long as I can remember. Since I had to pick a side, Okay, so let that be clear. I'd rather be independent and decide which person I like the best, but there's no people anymore. You're fighting an entire organization. So anyways, so restitution, that's where I was at. The Republican Party has sacrificed 3 of our commander-in-chiefs. One of them, for sure, the very first Republican president. That was, if you're playing chess, they just took our king and we lost. I mean, I don't know how else to put it. If you want to put it in the eyes of the monarchies, it is what it is. He was the king. We call him president, but they took our king, so they won the game. They also assumed the presidency. If you follow what I'm saying, when people are talking about the South loss, you're fucking stupid. But anyways, so like I said, restitution is paid in full. 3 commander-in-chiefs and 400,000 soldiers, white American soldiers, all died. I'm not worried about, giving you $5 a fucking mule and 40 acres. I'm telling you the goddamn truth that restitution by my people is paid in full. And I will not pay any more. You can guarantee that. I never made a slave. The people that were brought here as slaves were made slaves by somebody else. They didn't get brought here and we bought like people off people and we decided they were going to be a slave. No, it didn't go down like that. Let's be honest. Let's be truthful. A lot of tribes people were given to slave merchants or sold to slave merchants by the leader of those tribes. A lot were rival tribes. A lot were, but here, the bottom line is they weren't made slaves in America. They were sold as slaves by Africa. They were captured as slaves by England. They were, during the time in this country when America was a European-controlled colonies, the largest slave ports were in Dutch Pennsylvania, which is Holland, French Louisiana, which is France, and New England, which is England. So here you had the Europeans all like fighting for control of land in America, bringing slaves here and this and that and doing what they do. Well, Americans, true Americans, people who came here for freedom and the Bill of Rights and the Declaration of Independence. I mean, the people, the true Americans that came here, we didn't come here with slaves. We didn't ask anybody to bring us slaves. All we asked for was our freedom. Period. Okay, so the European the slave merchants, most Americans, majority, if we're talking about a democracy of Americans, did not own slaves, period. White, black, or otherwise. We were not discriminating on which slaves we took. It's kind of like a catch-22. In the South, black people were favored. You could get more work out of them than the Irish or the Chinese, but don't think we just had slaves based on somebody's race. The Chinese built the railroad. The Irish, they got most of the house jobs, the servants and stuff like that. But we had white slaves, black slaves, Chinese slaves, whatever you call it. When these people were brought here by the Europeans, they either sold them at market, or you can go down to the Gulf of Mexico right now, or got thrown overboard and killed. Basically, at that point, they were useless. They weren't worth the price of feeding. So the merchants that brought them here would then just toss them overboard, and they would die in the Gulf or the ocean or wherever you want. That's the truth of the matter. So when these people were brought here by Europeans and whatnot, they were sold, and they were sold as a slave. That's what they were sold as. So a majority of the slave owners are people that could afford to buy a slave, didn't mistreat their slaves. Now, I'm not saying that it never happened. I'm saying that majority in a democratic world or a democracy, the people that own their slaves didn't mistreat their slaves. They were paid a wage. We can argue all day long what a fair wage is and what a fair wage ain't. I'm damn near 50 and I still ain't got enough money to buy my freedom. So, I mean, I get it. So, anyways, they were given a wage, they were given a house, they were given food in a land where they know nobody. You know what I'm saying? And it sucks, but it's the reality of the situation. So a lot of slaves bought their freedom. A lot of black people came to America as free men and were never slaves and lived in this country way before 1863 with freedom, with liberty and everything, just like you and I had. We didn't make those people slaves. They were sold to us as slaves by somebody else. Anyways, so the same people that were bringing them here and controlling basically everything in our country, we got fed up with around 1776 or whatever, and we went to war with them. We seen the wrongs that they had been doing and how we were mistreated and this and that. We went to war with them, and it was an impossible war to win, but we did. We won. So, period. 1776, the English argued that it was later. We declared our independence. The Constitution didn't come for damn near 10 decades later or something. But our original founding document is the Declaration of Independence, and what we fought and died for was the Declaration of Independence, period. And so then from 1776 to 1863, America, the United States of America, had slaves. So when people are talking about, the hundreds and hundreds of years that slavery existed in America and how bad America is and the United States and this and everything else, you just take into account that the person that owes you restitution, the people that owe you restitution are not sitting in this country. I can guarantee you that. So from 1776 to 1863, that's not even 100 years. As a free independent nation, as a free people, we didn't even have slavery in our country for 100 years. No other country on this planet has matched that. No other country ever will match that. And if you want to talk about Africa and how great it is, there's still countries in Africa where you can own people as property. At least there was a few years ago when I was checking it. Libya was one of them. They recently did away with it. It's almost as though Africa invented slavery when they had Jews enslaved for thousands and thousands of years. And, it's kind of like, I'm not saying it's right. I'm not saying it's wrong. I don't care. It's in the past. It is what it is. You know what I'm saying? I can get all bent out of shape and say that, Africa was the greatest nation on earth and they enslaved people and that's how they built their, well, it's all gone now. So now, but I'm just saying, they did the same. So let's not play games. So I mean, it's an amazing feat. It's one that everybody should be proud of. White, black, it doesn't matter. If you're an American and you are what we stand for, you realize that an economic trade change in a country in a matter of 86 years, 87 years, that is an impossible feat, and we did it. So, with the ideals and everything that came with the Europeans and this and that and the colonizations, it takes a while to weed the garden, you know what I'm saying? After you declare your independence, you write a constitution, a Bill of Rights. You say, all people are created this way. And even the original documents didn't say in the pursuit of happiness, it was the pursuit of property. And they changed the words later. But it's like, I don't know. It's like every American should be so proud to be American. You cannot claim systematic racism. Period. One. Let me give you a few reasons why. If you take the statistics of 911 calls made to police asking for assistance, they've broken it down into categories where which races place those calls. Now, mind you, there's 100 160 million more white people than there is black people, and Mexicans outnumber black people in this country pretty significantly too. When I tell you that the calls that are made to police for police assistance, I'm talking about people who are calling the police to come and help them. Black people make up the most calls to 911 asking for assistance. What I'm saying is, one, man, you got to quit calling the cops on one another. That's ridiculous. When you got white people, and there's 160 million more of them than there are of you, and you make up 1% less of the phone calls made to 911 than the 160 million, and let alone the amount that there truly is. Anyways, so what I'm saying is, yeah, you got to quit calling the police on one another. That's a big problem. You know, my attorney told me one time, this is never a good time to call the police, and he's correct. You don't invite these people to your house, especially, you know, they're scared. They're scared of everything. I mean, I saw an old man on a video the other day grab his cane out of the back of his truck, and the cop just blasted him to death, thought he was grabbing a gun. They're scared. You don't call them. You don't invite them to your environment. You know they're racist. Why would you call them? You know, it's sick. It's not a black problem either. It's a problem. Yeah. So there's that. So yeah, we got to quit calling the cops, because that's manipulating the exact system that you're claiming is racist against you. You're inflating the numbers within your own people, and you're blaming it on somebody else. Now, if you take up the violent crimes in this country, it's broken down into categories, you know, car theft, this, that, and everything else, and blah, 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 blah. In some categories, black people make up 30%, black people make up 40%, 60%, you know, blah, 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 blah. If you take the overall violent crimes that are committed in America, now, it's around 50% are committed by black people. And I'm not saying it's a good thing. I'm not saying it's a bad thing. I'm just saying it's a true thing. If you take every other race and combine them all together, they would be equal to just the black people. And white people and Mexicans outnumber black people by hundreds of millions in this country, and there's only 330 million people here. So I'm just saying, you know, that's another way where you're manipulating the system, and you're trying to get people to believe things that you're not giving them the facts. So I'm not saying it's good. I'm not saying it's bad. I did find, when I was looking into it, a lot of things about, like, say a white person and a black person commit a crime. Black people tend to get more time for their crime. You know what I'm saying? And I don't think it's fair, and I don't think it's right. It is what it is. I see that. The other stuff I don't really see, because I've seen police brutality on both sides. I've seen a problem with the police on both sides, and I don't think it's a problem that's just solely a problem for black people. It's a problem that exists. It's a problem for all Americans that pay taxes, and really, our government needs to start looking out for us, even when it comes to immigration. What have you done to the black people in this country just by immigration alone? You've hurt them so badly, it's not even funny. And you hide behind this fucking mask. Hey, you want to play games with me, and I'm not the one. One, you just gave democratic control to a Mexican over a black person. I believe the black people deserve a little bit more democratic control than a Mexican does. That's just my true beliefs. You know, so I don't want to keep bringing in a person of a certain race when I have too many of that race already in my country. It's a dirty project, but somebody's got to do it. It's true. Like when they took all the Syrian refugees and they stuck them all in the same voting district in Minnesota, the next thing you know, we got a Muslim congresswoman. I'm not saying it's a good thing. I'm not saying it's a bad thing. I'm saying it's a true thing. So this is what happens. So you open your borders up to Mexico, you have a flooding of people that are taking the lower wage jobs, whatever. Again, I don't care. I'll speak the truth. Black people's school systems suck. It's, it's something that's paid for by property tax in people's communities, mostly by the state. But the money that they're given and the quality of education that they receive is not the same as everybody else. That's just the true facts. I mean, yeah, a lot of it's behavioral. It truly is. And that's a problem too that nobody's addressing. But when you grow up in a house without a father and you don't have that family dynamic, and you go to school and you think that kid is going to respect that teacher the same way that the kids over in that other school do, you're out of your mind crazy. It is what it is, yeah, there should be school choice, though, for sure. Why not? That ain't none of them teaching the truth, anyways. So, I don't know. I lost where I'm at, and I'm going to pick up again in a minute. Okay, let's call this segment potpourri. Made a few videos the other night and touched on a few bases, and I just want to kind of throw a few things out that I didn't say and thought I should have. On the issue of race, systematic racism, and all that kind of thing, I did a lot of.